What's up, everybody? The U.S. is finally doing it. We're finally stealing billions of dollars from some of the poorest people on the planet. I don't mean finally as in we haven't before. So I'm not saying, we've been trying to steal that money and it just keeps slipping through our fingers. No, we're good at it at this point. But anyway, that we have finalized, the White House has finalized stealing billions of dollars from Afghanistan. I'm going to get to that story in 1 second. I just want to let you guys know I am performing live in London and Berlin. London and Berlin, October 5th, Berlin, October 12th, London. We're going to do a Government Secrets Live podcast, but I'll also be doing stand-up in London. George Galloway will be opening the night in Berlin. Eleanor Goldfield will be opening the night. It's going to be pretty fucking awesome. If you want your tickets, go to leecamp.com and click schedule. Leecamp.com is different than leecamp.net. So leecamp.com if you want tickets. Leecamp.net is my locals page. All right, but I wanted you to know that London and Berlin, and if you're in one of those cities and you're coming, I hope you bring some friends. I hope you make a day of it, a night of it, whatever. It's gonna be fucking epic. By the way, I am tired of the dilution of terms. It's not gonna be epic. It's gonna be good. You're gonna have a fucking great night. But I am tired of everything is fucking epic. I went to a burger place. I don't eat meat, folks. All right. I can see your scowls. They had vegan burgers too. I went to a burger place and the sign out front says, "Epic legendary burgers." And I'm like, if you're going to use that for a hamburger, what the fuck is left? What would you use for someone who legitimately is a legend? For someone, what are you going to use for fucking Michael Jordan or Nadal or somebody who leads the fucking troops into saving the world? What are you going to use for them? You fucking epic and legend was used up on the burger you just ate. So you're kind of fucked. Well, he's beyond legend. Anyway, everything's like that now. You can't go to a goddamn restaurant or anything without everything being epic, legendary, holy shit your pants, holy experience, spiritual. These are spiritual burgers. All right. Fucking everybody just relax. Everybody just relax, okay? A little just hold on. Just take a second. Anyway, bit of a tangent there. But let's get into it. White House is finalizing the theft of Afghanistan's foreign resources. Finalizes theft of Afghanistan's foreign reserves. The government of U.S. President Joe Biden. Hold on, let me get the stupid background out of the way. The government of Joe Biden has decided not to return Afghanistan's foreign reserves and suspended talks with Taliban officials over the issue. They say we do not have the confidence that the institution, meaning the Taliban, has the safeguards and monitoring in place to manage assets responsibly. Could you imagine one of the biggest thieving governments in the world? I mean, we've stolen billions from Venezuela. We have raped and pillaged our way around the globe. Can you imagine us now looking someone in the face and being like, we don't have trust that institution is going to look after those resources. We don't, you know what? We're going to watch the resources for them. That's what we're going to do. We can't be sure that the Taliban will use those resources effectively. So we're going to hold those over here in our laps, and we're going to use them to buy various yachts and various sex trafficking activities we're involved in. We're going to use it to pay for that instead of giving it to them because we don't know that they would take care of it right. That's fucking honestly, just seriously, I would have so much more respect for these assholes if they were just honest. If the White House said, "Hey, we've decided not to give back the $7 billion or whatever it is," we've decided not to give back $7 billion to Afghanistan because we're going to steal that shit. Because we wasted 20 years just fucking up that country and spent trillions of dollars there. And so we figured, why not steal this $7 billion from them? If they were like honest, I would have a little more respect. It'd still be fucked up, but I'd be like, all right, well, tell us the truth. They decided to steal the $7 billion. Instead, this is what you get. You get bullshit quotes like this. Like, we're not certain they'll look after it appropriately. The decision is allegedly related to the U.S. drone strike that killed al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in Kabul last month. And by the way, I'm sure I've mentioned this before. You notice we kill al-Qaeda's leader about once a week. So clearly these leaders are a dime a dozen because every goddamn week, the U.S. idiotic mainstream media fucking assholes, these ass clowns at the U.S. mainstream media, they go, we got him. We got the leader of Al-Qaeda. Holy shit, did we get them? Did we fuck that dude up? Every week. And you're like, okay, so every week there's a new leader of Al-Qaeda. Doesn't seem to make a difference. Either they're not actually killing these people, or they're just replacing each leader of Al-Qaeda with a new leader of Al-Qaeda, and then we kill them. But either way, what's the fucking point? What's it matter? You just and while we're attempting to drum bomb these people, we kill God knows how many innocent civilians. So we're just like, yeah, we just obliterated half of Afghanistan, but we got our guy, along with about 200 people that had nothing to do with it. They were just hanging out nearby. But still, we got our guy. He's been leader of Al-Qaeda for roughly 13 hours. And we, this is going to change everything. This is going to change our entire battle with Al-Qaeda, because we killed this guy who just sat down in the office chair, leader of Al-Qaeda, 12 minutes ago. Just sat down in the chair. We took him out. It's going to change everything. Quote, needless to say, the Taliban's sheltering of Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri reinforces deep concerns we have regarding diversion of funds to terrorist groups. Every time the United States refers to someone else as a terrorist group, that's always good for a few laughs. That's always good for a good time. Every time the United States is like, did you see that terrorist group over there? They hurt people. They hurt innocent people. We would never do anything like that. We just don't want to be involved in any pain or suffering towards other human beings. And so, we are the good guys. And so what we did to stop that terrorist leader is we bombed. We knew he was visiting his kid at school, at a school in Afghanistan, but we didn't know which school. So we just obliterated all the schools in Afghanistan all in like one strike. And we got him. Unfortunately, we did get 700,000 children, but we also got him. So that's what's really important. And as Madeleine Albright said about killing 500,000 Iraqi children, I think it's worth it. Okay, I think we can all agree it's worth it. These people are the level of sociopath you can't imagine. You can't even fucking comprehend. You could sit down with a whiteboard and have all kinds of lines and mathematical equations, and you could not understand the level of sociopath of the people that make these decisions and say quotes like this. It's just, you will never get to the bottom of it. It's just amazing. Amazing. We have killed the latest number is 6 million people over the past 20 years with our war on terror. 6 million just in that region. That doesn't count our various economic wars that have killed millions of others just by cutting off food and funding and medical care. But just in the wars on terror or war on terror in various countries there, 6 million. 6 million have died. And here we are, quote, stopping terrorist groups. We're gonna stop these terrorist groups. By the way, we of course, as you know, we helped fund and create Al-Qaeda by funding the Mujahideen, and And we also fund and arm Al-Qaeda offshoots like al-Nusra when we feel like they might do something useful for us, like attack Syria. So we will fund and arm Al-Qaeda when we aren't bombing Al-Qaeda. That for some reason that wasn't in his quote. I don't know if the quote just got truncated there. I don't know why he didn't mention that in his quote there. Following the botched withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan last year, Washington froze $7 billion of the country's foreign reserves. Officials then decided to earmark half the funds to pay the families of victims of the 9/11 attacks. As nice as that sounds, oh, good. Finally, those families getting some reprieve. As nice as that sounds, it's still stealing. It's still stealing from one of the poorest countries in the fucking world. I mean, they do something like, oh, we're giving it to the 9/11 families. So that makes it good, right? It makes it good that we're starving people to death in Afghanistan because we gave it to the families of the survivors of 9/11. It's like, first of all, if you gave a flying fuck about people who lost someone in 9/11, you would have paid those families years ago. Years ago, you would have done everything they needed. Years ago, that thing Jon Stewart fights for where he's out front of Congress because they won't help they won't give the health care that the firefighters needed who were, went into the buildings afterwards or whatever, went in, just stood there and breathed fucking flaming human remains for days on end. The Congress wouldn't even do that. Congress couldn't even fuck about these people. And yet now they're like, no, we stole this money to help the 9/11. That's why we stole it. Right. Another $2 billion of Afghanistan's funds have been frozen by other countries. That's good to have. How much you want to bet they're just U.S. allies, though, of course. Quote, let's see. Oh, this is a letter. This next quote is a letter drafted by 70 economists and experts, which was delivered to the White House. Quote, it is both morally condemnable and politically and economically reckless to impose collective punishment on an entire people. Yeah, exactly. For the actions of a government they did not choose. Collective punishment is morally repulsive, is morally just fucking bankrupt. Interesting. So you're saying making sure that a child in Afghanistan starves to death so that you can prove a point against the Taliban or against Maduro that you think you're making some point you think you're making in Venezuela or against Cuba or against Iran or against Syria. Continue the list for the next half hour. You're saying making sure children starve there is not a good, morally just way to make that point? Interesting. Experts, economic experts. But that's how the United States works, right? That's how we roll, baby. That's how we do it. We love economic war. We love crushing people who had nothing to do with anything that we claim to be pissed about. As I've covered before, the real reason we have destroyed these countries, the real reason we destroyed Iraq, Syria, Libya, and to some degree Afghanistan, has to do with the petrodollar, making sure that area of the world stays on the petrodollar, because if we lose the petrodollar, our empire will flounder and will flounder. And so we, our energy will wane if we don't have the petrodollar. So therefore, we collapse these countries. We go in, we put in puppet governments that get back on the petrodollar, and so that we can make sure to continue to have our global economic hegemony. And then, of course, there's the whole proxy war in Ukraine and everything, but I'm talking specifically about these right now. And so that's the real reason we're there. But meanwhile, we're making sure children starve. Just as a little bonus. Starve a few 100,000 kids in Afghanistan, just a little bonus. The loss of its foreign reserves has pushed Afghanistan into an acute humanitarian crisis, as the central bank lacks the resources to combat high inflation and help a populace on the brink of starvation. A report by the Save the Children NGO shows that 97% of Afghan families, 97 fucking percent of Afghan families are struggling to provide enough food for their children, while almost 80% of children say they are going to bed hungry. 80% of children are going to bed hungry in Afghanistan, while our government says, yes, this is the right thing to do because we need to look after this money because we are afraid the Taliban won't look after it correctly. Now, let me be clear here. This does not mean that the Taliban is good people, okay? But that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. They're in power because of us, for one, and two. It's not. We're killing more people right now with our economic war than we did with bombs back when Afghanistan was not in Taliban control and we had our puppet government in there. We're killing more right now with economic starvation. It's just, it's fucking disgusting. It's so disgusting. And the idea that this isn't, mainstream media doesn't care. Doesn't concern them. Not an important story or, maybe they'll have a little debate. They'll have two people on. One person will say, listen, this is the only way to teach the Taliban a lesson. This is what we have to do to teach them what's what. Otherwise, Taliban never learns. And then the other person saying, this is not the right way to punish the Taliban. We should go back and bomb them some more. And those are the two sides of the debate. One saying, no, economic war is great. The other one saying, we need to go back to bombing. Those are the two sides. There's no one on that panel that goes, hey, let's just stop all this shit. Let's just leave them the fuck alone. But there's no one on that panel. That guy is tied up in a back room at CNN, duct tape across the mouth, just fucking in a cage. That's where that guy's been for the past 45 years. That's CNN. Maybe we shouldn't do any of this shit. Maybe we shouldn't be in Afghanistan or have economic war against Afghanistan. That's an idea. That's an idea. All right, moving on to the next morally reprehensible story by our ruling elite, our ruling class. Real quick, by the way, in a few minutes, about 15 more minutes, this live stream will become only rumble.com/Lee Camp. It'll only be there. It's free to watch there. There's nothing stopping you from watching there. rumble.com/Lee Camp. I've had to do that because I am the most censored comedian in America. I do still have a YouTube channel, but my main YouTube channel with 250,000 subscribers has been banned globally. Thousands of videos banned globally. So I have a new channel, rumble.com/Lee Camp. I hope you will go there and subscribe. It's the only way I'm going to be able to keep functioning because I am so suppressed and censored. And I can't thank all of you for being a part of this and for enjoying these live streams. Aspie is asking for my streaming schedule this week. So every week I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Of course, you can watch it after that, but that's when it's live. This week, I had one change, which was Monday. I couldn't do it live, so I uploaded just a segment. I uploaded a 15-minute segment. You're welcome to go watch it at Rumble right now, or well, not now. No, sit down. Don't do it yet. As if to go watch something else, you'd have to get up and walk over. I have another YouTube channel over here. I'm gonna go anyway. So that should be the only change for this week, I believe. Fridays, by the way, is members only at leecamp.net. All the others are open to everyone, totally free. Rumble.com/Lee Camp. So yeah, it's always noon Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. But this past Monday, I had to miss that one. But anyway, let's move along. And then, of course, I have the most censored news show, which is on YouTube. It's also on my website, leecamp.com, and all those places. But later in this episode, I'm going to play the new episode of the most censored news. So Thank you, everybody, for the kind comments. I really appreciate it. You guys are what keeps me going when there's so much censorship, so much incredible hate that comes at me for caring about human beings. I mean, it is amazing. When I first got into this, when I became a comedian, and I was like, I'm gonna do comedy about important issues. That's what I'm gonna talk about shit that matters, man. That's what I'm gonna do. And talk about how people should be treated right, and how everyone should have like food and shelter, and like we can do better, and we have a better world. That's what I'm gonna do. And I started doing that, and then that was when people started fucking hating me. That was when people started fucking coming after me. Was they were like, you can't feed people and give them clothing and shelter, you shithead. You want people to not get cancer from pesticides? What a piece of garbage. You want everyone to have a house or a roof over their head? You sack of shit. All right. Moving on to the next story. So speaking of a roof over your head, and this is the dystopia we're getting to, folks, in the United States. Most of you know, if you live in the U.S. like I do, most of you know we have seen tent cities popping up everywhere. I don't know what the number of homeless is. Until pre-COVID, it was 600,000 per night. Now, obviously, that fluctuates. Some people are homeless for a few nights and then they find a place, but it was around 600,000. And I'm sure that was a little low, but nowadays, I don't know what it is, but it's got to be fucking double that, because every city, and I talk to, I'm not touring as much as I used to, but everybody I talk to that's in a major city, they're like, oh yeah, tents everywhere. People living in tents. You know who's doing well though is Patagonia. If you had money invested in Patagonia or other tent manufacturers, doing great. Honestly, folks, that's honestly why I'm here today. I wanted to talk to you all about a great investment opportunity. If you want to make some money, invest in tents, okay, in the United States, because those tent makers flying off the shelves. Just people loving tents, just loving them. And I assume it's because everyone's having a good time and they just want to go camping, right? Everything's been going so well, in the pandemic world and the economic recession and the proxy war we created where the sanctions are fucking boomeranging back into our goddamn faces. Everything's going so well. People just like camping right now. That must be why everyone's getting tents flying off the shelves. So if you get a chance, invest in tents in the United States, because that's the way to make money, because people are having a good time. All right, so here we are. This is in Miami. They're advancing a plan to move all their homeless onto an island. Like fucking Poverty Survivor. Like the level of dystopian. I don't know. Is there a good movie or book that references putting all the poor people on an island? Because this seems like it's straight out of, like Minority Report or some shit. By the way, I've done too many tangents in a row, so I'll pause on the tangent for a moment. But after this story, if I forget, remind me to tell you the dumbest, most obvious loophole in Minority Report, which is amazing. Anyway, but Miami's literally just wants to move all their homeless to an island to get them out of their faces. These people are these rich shitheads. It's like, I love that their idea was not, hey, here, let's give them all homes just in Miami. We don't need to move them onto an island, and hope they kill each other. So, but here's the other thing. The program calls for the construction of 50 to 100 tiny homes and 863 Barrier Island at Virginia Key. Now, speaking of Key, here's the key point here. 50 to 100. How many homeless do you think they're moving to this island? I bet you it's more than fucking 50 to 100. So what do you think that number of tiny homes? Let's assume it's the lower number because these people are so awful. What do you think that number of tiny homes is really meant to do? It's just meant to make liberals think this is an okay idea. That is the whole reason. Because Republicans are already on board. They're like, oh, take poor people, fucking, why ship them to an island? Why not just drop them out in the middle of the ocean? What the fuck do we care? Why not tie bricks to their legs and put them out in the ocean? Who cares? So that's the right wing. Then you have the liberals who want to pretend to care about something while actually standing for the same fucking garbage. So the liberals are like, well, you can't put them on an island without a house. They need to have a house. And so then these shitheads were like, all right, we'll give them tiny homes. And then they wrote in the margin, 50 tiny homes. 50! Well, they put probably 1,000 or 5,000 homeless people onto this island and just let them fight it out. And the biggest thing about this is, why do you think most of these people are homeless? Anyone who's ever worked with homeless people, met homeless people, interviewed people who interview homeless people. I mean, I had people on Redacted tonight that I have plenty of people who've been homeless, but I interviewed people who, worked with homeless on a regular basis. A great organization is Invisible People, and I want to do something with them again soon. But they go and they talk to these homeless people. Anyway, why do you think most people are homeless? Well, like 50% have mental difficulties. There's mental illness of one form or another. Now, it could be PTSD from being our fucking fist of our fascist state. They're sent in as soldiers. They didn't know what the fuck they signed up for. Sent into Iraq, get PTSD, come back screwed mentally, and then they end up on the streets. So could be PTSD, could be other things, could be severe depression that leads them to not be able to function very well. Could be all kinds of mental illness. But anyway, at least 50% are mentally ill, and therefore that's how they ended up on the street. They couldn't put it together to have a life in a wage slave capitalist society that allowed them to keep a roof over their head. Then you have people who maybe aren't mentally ill, but they've been chewed up by the system. When they were young, they got arrested for fucking stealing candy out of a store. And then they got arrested again for stealing a jacket one time. And then they got arrested again for getting in a fight. And then their state was like, hey, that's 3 strikes, motherfucker. We're going to lock you up for the next 30 years of your life. So then they're in prison for 30 years. And then they get out and they have no life. They have no support system. They have no nothing. And so you have people like that. You have people who are absolutely addicts. Yes, there are addicts. But, okay, that should be a health problem, not a crime issue. Okay, if someone's an addict, fucking go. Let's help them. Let's arrest them. Secondly, there's people addicted to food. There's people addicted to sex. There's people addicted to fucking alcohol. We don't lock them all up. So why do we pick? There's people addicted to gambling. So why do we pick one type of addiction, hard drugs, and go, that's the one you get. We're locking you up for that one. Gambling, sex addiction, eating addiction. No, that's fine. We're letting you run loose, and we're not even really looking down on you that bad. But with hard drugs, we're putting you behind bars. So it should be a health issue, not a crime issue. So there's that. But then on top of that, if I were homeless, I'd fucking want to do all the drugs too. If I were living on you have any idea how hard a sidewalk is for your back, man? The back, I can't even imagine the back pain. I'm not even that old. And I'm just like, a sidewalk, sleeping on a side. Can you imagine how the back pain that must be involved? I've never done heroin in my life, and I would find every opioid I could if I were living on the streets. Anyway, these are just a few reasons that we should not fucking hate homeless people, treat them like shit, abuse them. I mean, and then, of course, you have like a small percentage where it's like, they just made terrible decisions in their lives. Okay. Is that, yeah. Oh, sorry. They made a terrible decision. They fucked up their life. They gambled on some investment and lost all their money, and then did something, when they found themselves without any money, they stole food, got arrested for that. Who knows? But no reason to fucking hate them, punish them, not let them get a house, a place to stay. So here's Miami fucking putting them on an island, like shipping them off to some Lord of the Flies chaos region. How about if you're going to give them tiny homes, not 50 tiny homes, but I mean a tiny home for every single one of them, which I've long supported that, although I actually support more than a tiny home because there's 17 million fucking empty living spaces across this country. 17 million empty living spaces. Last I looked it up. You don't hear your mainstream media talking about that, right? In the rare occasion they mention homelessness or something like that, they never go, oh, by the way, there is more empty living spaces in America than there are homeless by about 17. Each homeless person could have about 17 living spaces. Plus, there's more empty living spaces than people just threatened with eviction. Last I checked, during the pandemic, 15 million people were facing eviction during the pandemic, and there's 17 million empty living spaces across the country. So everybody could have a place, and yet here we are, shipping them to an island, giving 50 of them tiny homes, giving the rest tents so that your tent investment can do a little better. It's so fucked up. The location is home to a summer camp for kids, the article says. I'm sure that's going to go great. A sewage plant is not too far away. And then they try and make it sound better by going, and right across the water is one of the most expensive zip codes in the U.S. Yeah, it doesn't matter what's across the water. What matters is you put them on a sewage plant island. Commissioners are calling the idea a transition zone, quote unquote. Yeah, a transition zone to hopefully never having to see them again. A transition zone to them hopefully dying is what you're trying to transition to. A transition zone of getting them out of our fucking face and putting them on an island somewhere so you don't have to deal with them. So they're not a living human representation of how poorly you're running your society. Because the whole point of a society is that everyone, let's say one of the main points of a society is that everyone can live and be happy and thrive. And when you have tent cities in your face, you have groups of people that are a living representation of how poorly these societies, and I'm talking cities across the United States, these societies are doing. And so they just want them out of their face. This is so dystopian. In my opinion, this is Commissioner Manolo Reyes. In my opinion, this is not an encampment that is going to be a concentration camp. Nobody's forcing anybody. Florida, first of all, I love the nobody's forcing anybody idea. These are clearly struggling, suffering people. So when they decide to do something, it is with the threat of you're dealing with a lot of horrible shit, and maybe this other one could be better. Maybe they're probably tricked into thinking this is going to be better. So the nobody's forcing anybody is bullshit. They don't know what they're walking into when they're shipped to an island. Nobody's forcing anybody. And yeah, I don't remember what the other thing I was going to say is, but nobody's forcing anybody. And furthermore, like I said, not most, but like the estimates are 50% of homeless people are mentally ill. So the idea that all of them are making a rational decision, no, a lot of them can't make a rational decision. So when you say to them, hey, we'll give you a little home on a tiny island, and then you ship them off to a sewage plant, you thought, oh yeah, great. They made a great decision. Florida has 27,000 people who are experiencing homelessness. You notice experiencing homelessness. Yeah, for some that experience lasts a long ass time. And the program would house only about 100. A small dent in the overall problem the Sunshine State faces. The Sunshine State. The Sunshine State. Yeah, nice little euphemism for when you're sending homeless people to a fucking prison island. I mean, it's like an open air prison is what it is. It's an open air prison with a sewage plant. That's what they want to send them to. All right, folks. Let's see what I'm doing here. I'm going to go over to rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's RUMBLE. I'll put it. Well, actually, I'll put the whole link in there because I know you're lazy. I'm lazy. We're all lazy. So here's the actual link of the live stream on Rumble. And if you go there right now, you can watch for free. It's not behind a paywall or anything. So I hope you'll join me over there. We got over a half an hour left. So this is not wrapping up anytime soon. If you're not joining me over there, I hope you'll become a member at leecamp.net. That's how I keep this thing going. The lowest level is $1.25 a week. So, far less than a cup of coffee, especially if you're getting the fruity lattes, especially if you're getting the nice soy almond milk blendy frappy thingy. Then you get about 7 weeks of leecamp.net for one blendy frappy thingy. So please go become a member at leecamp.net. I am not supported by any nation state. I'm not supported by any corporate sponsors. I actually fight against corporate sponsors. I don't talk about this much, but over the past 5 years, I get at least one email a week, up to 3 or 4 emails a week from corporations telling me they want to buy ad space on my Facebook or my Instagram or something like that. And some of them, they're offering somewhere between like $600 and $7,000 a week is what they say. Now, I don't know how that factors out, but I say no to all of that because I'm not going to fucking work for Nestle and Coca-Cola. And that's what they're asking me to do. They're asking my Facebook to tell people to go buy Nestle. And I ain't fucking doing it. So basically, it all comes down to, whether I can get enough support at leecamp.net as to whether I can keep doing these. But anyway, let's keep it going. We'll shift over to Rumble, rumble.com/LeeCamp. And for those of you who don't want to make the jump, then thank you for joining this far. And I hope you'll one day join me over at Rumble.